Hi, welcome to Key to You. Today, we're joined by Shawn Kanungo, a global innovation strategist who's shaking up the future of work with ideas so bold. Landed Shawn on Forbes radar, a McKinsey bookshelf, and AI to dropping truth bombs in your bestseller book, The Bold Ones. And a streaming special on Apple TV. Shawn, not just predicting disruption, guys, is living it. Get ready for a conversation packed with dangerous ideas and counterintuitive insights and a blueprint for thriving in an AI driven world. Buckle up.
Wow, wow, what an intro. That's an incredible, one of the best intros that I've ever gotten. Wow. Well, listen, I'm just excited to be on here. And I know you're putting a lot of work with this podcast, having these really interesting conversations. And if you've gotten this far, by the way, rate, subscribe, review, whatever you got to do for this pod, because Shruthi's putting in the work. And yeah, thank you so much for the intro. Thank you so much for reading the book. Just excited to be on and to create value for you and for the audience, and honestly, just having a conversation. I just love hanging and having this conversation. So yeah, excited about it.
Thank you. So let's start. You went from Deloitte strategist to a global keynote star and TikTok sensation. Walk us through the boldest leap you took to reinvent yourself.
Love that. Thank you so much. Well, I don't know if I'm a star. I mean, I don't know if I'm a
I would categorize that you're a star.
TikTok star.
With a bold one, if you have not
usually,
seen bold one and underlined.
Yeah, you usually when you talk about TikTok stars, I think it's they're doing some silly dances. But for me, the idea of reinvention, and part of the reason why I wrote the book was this idea that I really believe that the individual can make such an impact within their lives and their organizations and in society. And to me, reinvention is this idea of how do you continuously learn? How do you continuously disrupt yourself? And it doesn't have to be just making a massive leap. It's not, to me, it's about making incremental changes and not accepting the status quo. So, throughout my career, what I've always tried to do is moonlight, try different things. I remember when I was at Deloitte, I started a creative film group. I started a mobile app company. When I left Deloitte, I was, when I was at Deloitte, I was speaking and I was creating content. And then even to this day, like I'm constantly iterating, experimenting, we're diving into different ways of doing media. We're getting into AI applications, and to me, it's constantly trying, being curious, and asking why not. And so to me, it doesn't have to be a big leap. It's just constantly iterating, and you create this incredible way of doing hard things, and eventually it doesn't seem hard at all.
Do you think people might have that ability to do the bold things and hard things, but they shy away for whatever the reason? They shy away, or the environment and situation doesn't align with them? What would you say to them? I'm sorry, this was not my planned question, but I just wanted to ask.
I mean, no need to have a planned question. I mean, so first of all, I would ask you in terms of you work with a ton of great leaders and have had a really incredible career. Taking a look at some of the people that you've worked with, why do you see people not taking bets or shots? I'm just curious to know your lens, and I'll sort of add mine.
So good. I didn't know it was going to be my interview. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, it's a conversation. So yeah.
So I love it. So to me, I feel like, let me take my own example, right? For years, I know I'm the bold one, but it took me a while to unlock that potential in me, because I always used to feel like, oh, my idea may not be sounding well, or like, I don't know, is it the things that cloud on you that you forget about who you are and what you really are, and get it out. Doesn't matter. No idea is a bad idea. No idea can be just keep it to yourself. Just put it out there, see if it's going to work or not. I think at one point, I really loved your the book and the speech that you gave in NASCO conference in 2023. And believe me on that, coming out of the conference, in the next meeting that I was attending, I was the one speaking boldly. And I didn't care about, like, whether I'm going to get to zero or see. For us, especially, some of them will have this immigrant getting
Yeah.
or fit in, right? There's multiple factors that comes into play situationally that they would step back. I would say, don't do that. Don't do that. Get in.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it. I think you hit it right on the head,
Yeah.
which is this idea that we have been throughout our lives we've been told to work on quote unquote an assembly line. We go to a
Right.
school, everybody
Right.
gets the same education. We go to university, they give you a
Right.
couple options. You're told to get to work. They put a number on your back. They give you a role and
Right.
responsibility. And along the way, we get trained that we need to fit in, that we need to maintain the status quo. And I
Yeah.
think because of that, there's an incredible inertia when we try to do something that is um, on a different path, or we
Right.
try to do something that's bold. And to me, this requires an unlearning of
Yeah.
how we have been brought up as a society, as an individual. And so to
Right.
me, it's the way to unshackle yourself from the assembly line is again not a massive bet, but it's
Yeah.
constantly trying and building this muscle of being
Hmm.
bold over time. To me, it's like going to the gym. When you go to the gym for the first time, um, it's incredibly overwhelming. You see all these machines, you don't know where to
Yeah.
start, and
Yeah.
and you, you the point of going to the gym is that you start using some of the machines, you start
Right.
testing it out, and then first and the second,
Hmm.
the 50th time you go, the point is that the tools become light in your hand. And the same thing when it comes to boldness. I'm very curious to know, like, when does someone self-identify themselves as a fitness enthusiast? I've been very fascinated with this. When at some point do you say, I'm a fitness person?
Mm.
And I think when you assume that identity, it's when
Yeah.
it's baked into your habits. It's you're going
Yeah.
every single day. And the same thing with boldness. When do you identify yourself as somebody that's innovative or bold? And to me, it's continuously I'm trying hard things. It's putting in the work every single day. And then
Yeah.
over time, you're going to see yourself as somebody that can do hard things. And to me, that's the practice of boldness. It's not something that happens overnight. It's a practice.
I totally agree. Totally agree. So, in the bold ones, the book, you talk about breaking free from mediocrity. What's the boldest risk you have taken in your career that you have flopped, but
Oh.
made you a star instead? That's the thing.
Well, I've had so many failures, throughout my career, and whether it's starting these mobile applications that never really panned out, or starting companies that didn't pan out. To me, it's constantly trying things, and to me, I don't frame it as a big failure. I actually
I
frame it
agree.
as just a learning, or a stepping
Right.
stone, or
Right.
to me, the greatest MBA that I ever had was actually starting different companies. And
Mhm.
to me, it's always been a learning experiment. And you know what the beautiful part is, Shruti, is that
Yeah.
what I've realized just by taking shots and taking bets and failing over time and again. In fact, at the beginning of this year, I said I want to fail more because, um, you know,
Right.
I realized that no one is really paying attention to your failures. No one is really paying attention to all the shots that you're
So
taking.
true.
And the
Right.
people that really care about you and that really
Yeah.
love you, um, what's remarkable is that they don't care either. They just care about, who you are and the
Right.
energy that you bring, and
Yeah.
the feeling that you give them. They
Yeah.
don't care about any of the shots that you take. And to me, that's incredibly freeing.
Yeah.
It's incredibly freeing to understand that actually nobody cares. They just care about you. They don't care about your
Right.
failures. They don't care about your wins. They just
I
care that you are healthy and happy, and then
right.
you're providing love, and so that's incredibly freeing. So it's like
Right.
I'm more now willing to take experiments and shots and follow my face because of knowing that. And I think you can only realize that until you go through many failures.
And you said it so well. To me, there's so many out there, including the old Shruti of 10 years ago or 15 years ago, is to think about failure. is a bad thing, but it's not. It is the stepping stone, in my view, to become the best version of yourself. And the reason why I put it this way is because you emerging star right now, and your journey wouldn't have made where you are today without having some of these experiences that and stepping stones. So you've got millions of views on TikTok with that, that we talked about. What's the secret? What's the secret to crafting a message that cuts through the noise? And what's one social media move you totally bombed?
Well, social media is really interesting. It's this platform where you're getting, TikTok or Instagram or any of these things. I think what's really fascinating about it is that, um, you know, there's a freedom to go off and take shots. On a
Yeah,
platform like TikTok, you're failing all the time because, and I put out videos all the time on, these platforms, and I have no idea if it will hit or not. But to me, I don't care about the views or followers or
yeah,
shares or
yeah.
saves or whatever. I actually don't care about that. To me, it's actually the process of putting out ideas and people and one person actually getting something out of it. And if I think that creatively, artistically, that there is value in this particular asset, then I'm going to put it out in the world. And the punchline is that I'll give you an example. Last year somebody came up to me and said, I had this great engagement with the Clintons, Hillary and Bill,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on the same stage as them, and somebody said, "Oh, you're incredibly lucky, to have that engagement." And I said to them, um, what's interesting is the person that said that remark, and the 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 reason why I got that gig was because
Mm-hmm.
there's an organizer that's been following me on LinkedIn for many years,
Yeah,
and this opportunity popped up
yeah.
where I could have this slot, and he told me, "Listen, I've been following you for years. I think you'd be perfect for this
Mm-hmm.
opportunity." And what's remarkable is that the person that made that comment and the organizer, what they don't know is that, listen, I've been posting on LinkedIn
Right.
consistently, videos on LinkedIn for
Yeah.
7 years straight. And guess what? These videos don't go viral. They're not massive hits, but it's
Right.
just putting in the work every single day and it's showing up. And to me, the consistency of putting out hundreds of videos with no fanfare, with no hope that anything goes viral, is the reason why I've been able to create a brand, is because of the consistency of it. And so to
Yeah.
me, that it's all about the consistency and the idea that one person might get an impact from one video. So to me, that's what it's all
You,
about.
you touched my heart. You know why? I'll tell you something. My close family, when I wanted to start the podcast, the question came to me, what's in it for you? Why are you even doing this? And I said, first I started with, this is my passion, but I didn't wanted to go deeper into it. And the second thing is like, but it's a waste of time. I said, like, you know what? I have learned a lot of things in my life. For 25 years being an immigrant, living in this country, and grooming myself to be where I am today. If one soul hearing the conversation can pick up something and unlock their potential in their life, that's my goal. So I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to go on. I don't care about the views. I'm not going to care about the, who's going to, how many views I have or how many people are view. I don't care, but I want to do this because it's my passion. So you hit so close to my heart with that statement. I love
Yeah.
it.
Well, I think something that somebody considers a waste of time
Yeah.
is incredibly underrated. I would actually encourage more people to waste time.
Right.
To me, wasting time on something that you're passionate about and you love, is one of the greatest underrated periods of time that you can
Right.
have, because I actually believe that putting out ideas in the world or working
Right.
on something that you love and sharing that out in the world,
Yeah.
what you're ultimately doing is you're increasing the surface area for you to get lucky. You're increasing the chances of you getting lucky. And to me, that's the beauty of waste, is that you when you explore, when you try different things, that's how you get lucky. There's
Yeah.
this interesting story. There's an interesting piece of research that I highlighted in my book.
Mm-hmm.
where a group of researchers want to discover, what makes people so prolific and so innovative over time. And
Mm-hmm.
they interviewed, they took a research of thousands of different artists and creatives and scientists. And what they discovered is that the people that are the most successful, the people that are the most innovative, they go through this period of waste. They go through this period of exploration. And then
Right.
at some point they put it all together and they become more innovative. So my
Oh,
belief is that if you want to be more innovative, you have to embrace a little bit more waste.
yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it every word. Um, as a dad, an innovator, how do you teach your kids to be bold ones in an AI dominated future without overwhelming them? This is also something that I want to learn for my kids. So, I'm
Yeah, I mean, I think the punchline is that I have no idea. I don't know the answer, and I
sorry.
think
Yeah.
for me, as a father, I'm trying to learn, just like everybody else, how to raise
Yeah.
my kids in this AI world.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will emphasize when it comes to my kids in this AI world is that actually the most important skills are non-AI. The most important skills
Mhm.
have nothing to do with technology or AI. To me,
Right.
it's about grit and resilience and learning how to make a friend and
Right.
learning how to work in a team, learning how to navigate relationships, looking someone in the eye, shaking someone's hand, learning how to speak with a stranger. Like
Mm,
these skills of articulation and curiosity and imagination and ingenuity has nothing to do with AI. And so
correct.
to me, I actually think that those skills are going to become disproportionately more important in this AI world. And I really don't know how to navigate this. My kids are 9, 6, and 2.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think every single day, like, how do I make sure that I instill the right values in them so that they can go off and be and do something that they love and be and productive and happy people. So
Totally.
I don't know, how do you navigate this? I always ask people who are great parents as well, like, what's your, how do you approach this, and what are you doing to instill just not instill anything, but just making sure that their kids are happy at the end.
Right. I mean, it's harder for me. I don't know if I figured out that this is the formula. I don't think we figured out any formula as such. But I'll give you one example. My son, who's now 19, I can't believe, like, he's already that old. So he is doing, I mean, again, my kids don't like me talking about them on the podcast, but I will today. So he's doing, you know, he's second year in MSU. He's took the finance and business. Before hitting the from high school to college transition, he wrote an essay, and he wrote himself, right? What he wants to write. And then he also generated one essay from the generative AI or a chat GPT, not the generative AI, chat GPT. And then he sent both to us. Which one do you think is good? I, Sean, I picked the one that he wrote, not the chat GPT, because that
Yeah.
is more personable and more him than the chat GPT. So I told him, be you. You write it down because you need to make sure your brain is still working and you want to write down and you want to make sure that you are crafting your story in the way you want to and not the way ChatGPT is telling you to. So that's
Yeah,
one.
I mean, yeah, I think that's a great message, which is leaning into authenticity and doing something that they came up with. I think that's important. I'm such a huge proponent of AI. I think it's going to be a great accelerant to everything that we do.
Oh, yeah,
But at the same time, I think the ability to be unique and human is going to become incredibly more important.
totally agree. And AI does work, and I do love, and I do use every single day though, because in the world that I love. So that takes to the right. I mean, the right next is AI agents are taking over. How do you stay uniquely human? I think we talked a little bit about that in a world where machines can outsmart us. What's one skill you're doubling down on to keep your edge?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think that AI and when you have AI agents, which is to me, basically digital employees that can get
Yeah,
stuff done.
yeah,
It's gonna be this is the most important technology of our lifetime. It's gonna
right.
become this is a revolution. And to me, I think the way of keeping your edge is doing two things, which is number one, it's continuously being curious around what's coming.
Yeah.
It's continuously playing with new tools and being aware of how this space is evolving. I think that's incredibly important for any single professional because you
Hmm.
don't want to be outdated.
Right.
And the other thing is just spending more time with people and
Mm.
um, and being in touch with people and creating that connection and the belonging with your employees and because I think as the world becomes a little bit more digital and AI driven, we're going to lose a little bit of that. When we lose that, we get we don't understand each other. We don't understand the problems. And my belief is
Hmm.
that innovation has nothing to do with actually understanding technology. It's about understanding people. And so the
Right.
more that you can understand the people within your organization or your customers or clients, the more that you can go off and innovate. So to me, it's twofold. It's trying to spend more time with people, and it's also trying to get my arms around all the changes that are happening, which can be difficult, but you just got to try. And so I think those are the two things that I would recommend.
I like it. So more towards make sure that you're curious enough to understand and be in touch with the new technology that's coming your way and how that's going to help. And in the IT world that I'm living, right, within cross, I think we are also, getting into this AI space and looking at digitization of all things that we do. Like to me, what I see is like, there's a lot of manual things that we're working on and easy ones as to how to get automation, how to make sure these your cases are created sooner than 5 days.
Yeah.
Takes in minutes. So enhancing your ability to do things more quicker rather than, you know, eliminating it. This to me is like enhancing and doubling down your skills of having AI is how I kind of view that.
Yeah, I would frame it into I actually think that you know for decades and centuries we've designed our organizations around systems and processes. Like
Right.
we have an assembly line, so we have people that work on the assembly line. We have a
Mm,
CRM. We design. We say you're the CRM person. We have an ERP. You say you're the ERP person, and
mm,
so we've designed organizations around the system. But
right.
because you have AI agents that actually can be personalized and can work with your workflow, for the first time in human history, I think we're going to build organizations around the individual, saying, what are your strengths as an individual?
Right.
Who are you? What do you
Right.
bring to the table? How do we accentuate and amplify your particular skill sets within the organization so that we can automate all the things that you don't want to do? And so that is a fundamental shift in how we look at organizations. And um, most companies are not ready for that, but that's
Yeah,
the revolution that's ahead of us. And I think that's incredibly exciting because
it
this
is.
is actually making work more human when you can
Yeah.
work on things that actually align with your strengths.
I, you said it so amazing. And I was just gonna, the question that I had on the next one is something that you already answered. The one that I had is you've advised Fortune 500s on AI. Tell us about a time you saw a company completely botch their AI strategy and what's one mistake leaders keep making that tanks innovation. So to
Yeah.
me, okay, go ahead. Sorry, I just don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, and I would love to know, your take on that piece around AI agents. But there are many Fortune 500 companies that are, botching this AI implementation, and I'm not going to name their names, but I think part of the problem is that, part of the problem is me because you see people like me that are showcasing all these use cases of what you can do with AI,
Yeah.
and they get excited and they want to adopt it, and
Yeah.
then it they think that it's going to run itself, or they think that it's going to um, figure it out itself. When the reality is that AI agents require or this agentic revolution requires
Human in the loop.
constant monitoring.
Right.
You need people to understand, the data, what data is being fed into that. You need to
Yeah.
be monitoring
Yeah.
these workflows
Right.
constantly. And so it's not a switch yet. And that's the thing that people don't see, is that it's not a switch, and people are expecting a switch. and they don't see it. And I think that's been one of the problems. But
I agree. I mean, people are focusing on what's the ROI? Can I eliminate 2.5 FTE or 5 FTE when I innovate this? That's not how we need to be looking at it right now. Implement, have human in the loop, because human in the loop is important. You have a ton of business knowledge comes into play, looking at your workflow, ensuring that bot is trained enough for it to do its own and become independent. Until then, you have to be patiently waiting and get to the space where you need to be, and the human in the loop is very important. Because but I would say agentic AI is going to be a disruptive. It's coming in, and everybody, there's so many vendors out there. There's so many AI strategies and vendors out there. My worry is, are who are the ones, which one is the right pick? That's the first problem, right? What problems are you trying to solve? For the problems that you're trying to solve, is this the right AI strategy? Is this the right AI vendor? And where do you plug in and how do you keep the human in the loop? Those are all the things that when it comes to me, those, that's how I think.
yeah, yeah, I think those are the right questions, and
Mm,
it's going to constantly change in terms of the model's capabilities and what
right.
it can, end up doing.
Yeah.
So I think you need to, yeah, I think organizations definitely need to ensure that this is not, this transition is going to be difficult, and you need
Right.
to be able to have that muscle around experimenting with all these new tools, but also understand that it may not work all at once, but that's okay. Like
Yeah.
it's to me, it's continuously trying and experimenting, and time and time again, there are organizations that are creating incredible impact
Right.
with this technology. So I think
Definitely.
the opportunity is there.
Yep, I totally agree. And I hope, right, when you look at strategizing it and making sure that you're realizing the outcome of having the AI and speed to market is so critical. And I think we need the right people and right mindset in the right places. As you said, the organization needs to change on how they are operating, and it cannot be traditional way of operating the way we do.
Yeah.
So, what's a dangerous idea from your keynotes that got you the most pushback, but you still believe could change how we work forever? I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
mean,
I want this to be disruptive discussion. So,
um, I really think that I believe that, and maybe it's something that um, maybe I believe, but most people don't believe yet,
hmm,
which is this idea of traditional brands as we know it,
mm,
is is fading. I actually believe
yeah,
that people have more affinity towards people than organizations and institutions. Like, people follow people at the end of the day. And the
right.
biggest disruptors of the future are not these are actually going to be creators or influencers that have brand and affinity with their customers and clients,
Hmm,
and they can start to disrupt those incumbents because people trust people at the end of the day,
right.
and it's an easier way of acquiring clients and customers. So this idea of how we built brands over the last number of years and decades, I think is going to fundamentally change.
Mm,
And so I just don't think many organizations are willing to accept that. And the other thing is that when it comes to, I think people underestimate the power of their employees and how they become a beacon for ideas and opportunities and connections with an audience. I mean, I'll take myself as an example. When I was at Deloitte, and I love Deloitte, I
yeah.
still would do things with them to this day. But as I was creating content, on stage and other places, and sharing the work that we were doing in innovation,
Mm-hmm.
I started to see this power shift where people didn't want to just work with a firm, but they wanted to work with me. And
Mm,
and the organization was not built on this idea that one person would be a star. It's
right.
built on the organization. It's built on the institution that
Right.
we brand somebody with a number, and we say this person is not is 7,743, and you can work with him or anybody else. And I
Mm,
think we are moving to a world where people want to work with the people. And so because
Mm,
of their ideas and what they bring to the table, and this is going to happen across many industries where you want to
right,
work with the individual. And so that
right.
that to me is a dangerous idea that I haven't seen organization adopt in terms of how they manage their employees or how they manage their
Mm,
brand. But I think that's going to be a big shift over the next, decade or so.
that's awesome. I'm gonna write that down. That's really powerful. If you could disrupt one outdated industry norm with AI tomorrow, what would it be? And how would it shake things up for the average worker?
Well, I'm going to throw this back to you. If you had this magic wand, you're thinking about all the things that you have internally at your organization, like what would that magic wand be? Like, I wish we could just eliminate this. I'm just curious on your end.
So, this is again, I'm into the AI world since I would say 7 to 8 months now, and it's quite interesting journey. When I go back and read about it, what it can do a lot. It can do magic, really, and if you're doing it the right way, it could. So to me, what I would say the outdated norm is like don't think about strategic. I mean, the traditional way of I have this team is going to look at the strategy, and then this team will make a decision of what tool, what strategy, and then it'll come to a team B, and then go to a team C. Now, kill all that, kill the layers. Don't silo it down anymore. Bring the right people together in one forum. Talk about your business problem. Look at what the is it the AI the right thing, or is it an RPA? Is it an automation or AI? Understand that strategy, and then get to the next step of do we have any existing tools that already moving to the AI? I mean, are there any customer usages that we can look at? But build that collective minds coming together, one who's going to use it, one who's going to build it, one who's going to strategize it, everyone together. That needs to happen, and we need to disrupt the norm, the traditional norm.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's very similar to, what I think about AI. I
Hmm.
believe that AI has the ability to cut through bureaucracy because
Yeah,
if you think about it, in traditional organizations, you have this organizational structure where you have, people doing the work, and then you
yeah,
have people managing the work, and then you have
right,
people managing the managers, and then you have people managing the managers of managers. And we
right,
we've created all this hierarchy for people to oversee the work. So
right.
what happens when anybody in the organization can do the work more seamlessly, or what happens when the bot can do the work? Who
Yeah.
is managing the work, and what do we need the managers for? And so to me,
Hmm.
this is a revolution because what we're going to do is we're going to turn our managers into doers, into creators,
Mm,
into builders, people that can do stuff. And to me, it's not about managing people and processes, but it's about doing stuff. And it's
yeah,
not about managing. It's about doing stuff or managing AI agents or managing bots.
right.
So this is the potential to, dismantling how we run organizations because of the fundamental, work. And to be honest with you, like there's a lot of theatrics within
Yeah.
organizations.
Hmm.
There's a lot of make work projects
Right,
or hierarchies of people that are managing what. And so
right.
I think when AI can do so much, then
Yeah,
let me give you a simple example. Okay,
yeah.
so let's look at marketing as a function. Okay,
Mhm,
so let's take a photo shoot that a company had to do. So if
mhm,
in order to create a photo shoot for a big brand, what you'd have to do is you have to plan, you'd have to strategize, you have to get your teams together, you have to do production, you have to do post
mhm,
production. You'd have to
mhm.
do all of that work in order to come up with an idea and go off and execute. Well,
Right.
today, a 10-year-old can come up with a concept or
Yeah,
hundreds of concepts or 1,000 concepts of what you want to
right,
go off and shoot. And
right,
that becomes the starting point.
right,
Everybody comes to the table with the finished product to start.
right,
Not you don't wait for the finished product. You
right.
come up with the finished product to start. And then you go
Wow.
through your creative process and you say, okay, so is this the direction that we want to go? And
Mm,
you're not managing and having all these conversations about what you're going to build. You build it.
mm, mm.
Then you can go off and do all your other creative work. So you're
Oh,
speeding up the process. And
right.
I think that this cuts down the bureaucracy and all the useless meetings to get a final output.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my God. And I mean, last but not the least, your streaming special on Apple TV is bold. What's the wildest prediction you're making about where AI and innovation will take us in the next 5 years?
Wow. Wow. Wild prediction. I think I really believe that you're gonna have these AI empowered organizations where you're gonna have a one person, $1 billion organization. That
Right.
one person with the power of all these AI agents can make an extraordinary impact with less people.
Right.
And to me, I've always had this. I've been saying this pre ChatGPT that today we have everything at our fingertips. You have freelancers, contractors around the world. You have teams and partners and vendors. You have media. You have software. You have large language models. You have AI agents. Like you have
Right.
all these capabilities at your fingertips. Like the individual is the
Yeah.
most powerful entity in the world. It is the reason why I wrote the book, The Bold Ones. The
Yeah.
reason why I wrote The Bold Ones is this idea that people can understand that they have way more power they've ever seen. And once you realize that, you can make such a big impact. So to
Wow.
me, that's the most dangerous idea is that you're going to have, a one person, $1 billion organization in the next 5 years. And it's going to catch a lot of people, by storm.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's how I'm going to say. It's a wow. Sean, you have just dropped a masterclass for us, I would say, on bold thinking. And you have given us a lot of, the thought process and food for thought, I would say, and to chew on. And before we wrap, I want to know, is there any final comments for our audience from you?
Well, yeah. I mean, my first comment is to rate, review, subscribe, whatever you got to do with this pod because Shruti's putting in the work on this podcast. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And to me, I guess the last thing I would say is try to get yourself fired.
Yeah.
Like walk into work every single day and ask yourself, how do I try to get myself fired? Which is not punching anybody in the face, but it's saying, how do I take a very small bet today that will change my trajectory and the
Yeah.
organization's trajectory? And what you'll realize is by trying to get yourself fired, what you're ultimately doing is you're taking a small bet, you're taking a
Yeah.
small risk of how to move the organization forward. And the reason why I say such a provocative question like, how do I try to get myself fired? Is because we are so wired to be, maintaining the status quo that you need a question like that will really jolt you. And so
Right.
so I would say walk into work, and if you're listening to this on a run, on your way to work, on a drive, I would say walk into your office and say, how do I try to get myself fired today?
Oh my God, that's a bold one again there. Sean, you are a legend. Oh my
I
goodness. And
appreciate that.
thank you for joining us. And hopefully we'll have many more of podcast sessions with you. With that, thank you so much.